He's had 7 worldwide wins between 2014 and 2022, 3 of them on the DP World Tour, including 2 in 2022, one of which was the Dunhill Links Championship. It was an emotional win for him. He previously played with Shane Warne a couple of years earlier. And, of course, he is the son of that legendary rugby player from New Zealand, Grant Fox. Let's hear from this first-timer.
Yeah, I'm here with a great international player who's had a cup of coffee or two on the PGA Tour. You're going to see him a lot more on the tour this year. We're going to talk about that in a moment. And Ryan Fox, 3 DP World Tour wins, a couple of them coming last year. Maybe the biggest, the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship, winning at the home of golf in St. Andrews. How impactful was that moment for you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty special. I mean, to win at the home of golf, I mean, it's what you kind of dream of. Outside of a major, I can't think of pretty much anything better, to be honest. And yeah, it's one of our flagship events on the European or the DP World Tour, and yeah, it was an honour to do it with my family there as well, watching. And you know, a lot of good things came of that. Obviously, I got well inside the top 50, you know, which helped get all these starts as well. So it was a pretty important week for me.
And interestingly, it happened a few weeks after the President's Cup. We're going to get into that a little bit, because a lot of folks felt like, well, first you were on the radar to be on Trevor Immelman's international team, but unfortunately you didn't make the team. Was that inspiration for you that week at St. Andrews?
I'd like to say yes, but to be honest, I'd had a bit of a rough run in the lead-up, and I understand why. You know, I was sort of out of sight, out of mind. I hadn't played for a while in the lead-up to the team being picked. You know, we'd had a busy time earlier in the season in Europe, and I'd had a few weeks off after the Open, and you know, I was disappointed to not make the team. But to be honest, at Dunhill, my parents had come up 4 weeks earlier. I'd torn a meniscus in my knee the first week they came up, pulled out of 2 events, lost my clubs going to the French Open, which was the same week as the President's Cup. Missed the cut there, and my motivation was for the weekend was to pretty much get my parents to watch 4 rounds of golf.
That's great. Did you have a final conversation with Trevor Immelman, or any conversation with him in regards to you either possibly being on that team or not being on that team?
Yeah, there was contact with Trevor the whole way through, and yeah, I got a phone call I think a week or so before the team was announced, officially saying, look, you know, you were really close, but I'm sorry. And I appreciated the phone call letting me know, and you know, it gave me a little bit of extra motivation to try to make the team next year. Yeah, and there was some disappointment there, but I also understood it from Trevor's point of view. It was always going to be hard when you're playing on the DP World Tour, when you've got guys playing week in, week out on the PGA Tour, to I had to do something really special to get picked. And you know, as I said, I kind of hadn't played much after the Open, had taken some time off, and that's where things were ramping up over here. And you know, guys are playing week in, week out, and I can understand, you know, as I said, it's sort of out of sight, out of mind in that regard. Yeah,
so not being a member out here on the PGA Tour, you feel like hurt your chances?
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, obviously it was a US. The event was in the US at Quail Hollow, so it makes sense. You know, guys that have played on the PGA Tour played there a lot. Are used to those conditions, were probably going to be favoured over me. You know, if it had been somewhere like Australia, maybe, where I grew up, played a lot of golf, you know, as an amateur and early years as a professional, that may have helped me in that regard. But I think it being over here, it was definitely going to be, you know, guys based on the PGA Tour were going to be favoured, and I completely get it.
But that is changing. You played last week at Bay Hill at Arnold Palmer Invitational. You're obviously playing your first players. Will we see you more often out here on the PGA Tour?
Yeah, that's the plan. Obviously, I'm here for a good stretch now, Bay Hill through to RBC. You know, get a few of the top 50 starts and throw the Masters in there, which will be pretty cool. And you know, come back for hopefully Memorial and Colonial as well, along with the PGA and the US Open. So I'm looking forward to playing a bit more over here. I've only ever really done hit and run, you know, played one event and gone back to Europe or gone back home. So to get to play a bit of a schedule over here is going to be a lot of fun, and played nicely last week, and hopefully I can continue that for the rest of the trip.
I'm going to talk about your family. You come from an athletic family. We were talking prior to this interview. Your grandfather, a great cricketer for New Zealand. Your father, Grant, a legend for the All Blacks rugby team. What was it like growing up with your dad being a superstar in sports in New Zealand?
It was competitive, as you could probably imagine. You know, our house was all sport growing up. You know, if anything was on TV, it was sport. You know, Dad, yeah, or at least he's not tackling because he didn't do too much of that. You know, Dad, I don't remember much Dad playing. He retired when I was 6, but he coached my rugby teams all the way through. And, you know, he used to get stopped in the street all the time and, you know, asked about rugby, signing autographs, taking photos, that kind of stuff. So I got used to that. And, yeah, as I said, it was competitive growing up, everything. With table tennis, snooker, tennis, golf, you know, there was always some pretty strong rivalry there in the family. And I think that sort of helped me get to where I'm at with golf a little bit.
Was rugby your first love?
Rugby and cricket were my first 2 sports growing up, and golf was probably a distant 3rd or 4th.
How did that shift? Because you were just better at golf?
Yeah, in the end, and if I look back on it, I think through high school I enjoyed playing golf a lot more than the other sports. It just took me a while to figure it out. But yeah, I wouldn't swap what I did. I loved playing rugby. I played 12 years of rugby and as many years of cricket growing up, and I didn't quite enjoy them. I didn't enjoy transitioning playing men's cricket over you know, schoolboy cricket with my mates, and I started a law degree at Auckland University and thought, well, I need to do something competitive. Let's try tournament golf, and that was kind of me at 18.
Yeah, and far less concussions in golf.
Yeah, maybe not as a spectator, but...
Final question. Growing up in New Zealand, did you have a favorite Kiwi golfer?
Yeah, I mean, Cambo was the one for
Michael
us
Campbell,
growing up, yeah. I remember the whole country stopped when he won the US Open in 2005. I think I was at school, it might have been first year university, and I think I remember literally everyone was glued to the TV because he was taking on Tiger down the stretch at Pinehurst, and yeah, he was great to watch. You know, we've had a few good ones over the years. Frank, Greg Turner, you know, Craig Perks winning here. Obviously, I remember that vividly, watching that on TV. So yeah, it's cool to try to follow in those guys' footsteps a little bit.
Well, it's great to have you more often out here on the PGA Tour. You're a great player, great character. You do a lot for the game of golf, and hope you have an awesome week.
Thanks, Todd. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, appreciate it. Guys, let's go back to you.